The muzzle is off. Let go of the shame, remove all the pain, block it out like a troll on your timeline. The past is what made you who you are today. Embrace it, let it go like an exhale. Remove it, remove it, remove it. The muzzle is off.
What's going on, everybody, and good evening. Welcome to the Muzzle Is Off Podcast, where I am your host, Nakia Monet. I hope y'all feeling all right today. It's been a little heavy of a day today, I think. And I said, let me get on here and let's talk about some things today, because I just feel that it's important, especially today, especially now. Hey, Tay. Hey, V. I just think that it's just important that we begin to really and truly talk about suicide, suicidal thoughts, suicide attempt. And I think that sometimes one of our natural reactions, and Tay, if you want to join because you are a psychologist, you are a licensed psychologist, let me know. And I will definitely send you the link and you can come up here with me, because I think that is important that we have a real conversation. A lot of the times what I'm seeing, especially across social media, is, oh my God, sometimes you need to check on your strong friends. Oh my God, sometimes all it takes is a text message, this, that, and the third. I think that part of us don't realize, or some of us don't realize, is that you could check on a person until kingdom come. When something is going on the inside, and it's something that it's a pain, it's a feeling, it's an emotion that they feel that they cannot seek any relief from. When a person feels that there's no remedy, there's no more hope. There's no hope for tomorrow. And when a person feels like that, you can keep checking on them. You can keep calling them. You can take them out for coffee. You can take them out for a drink. You can do whatever. Y'all could go out to eat. It's still not going to stop the pain that they feel on the inside, right? And what happens when you cannot stop that level of pain, and a person then feels like the only way for this to stop is for me to no longer live. And if I no longer live, then the people that are around me will no longer suffer with me through this pain, because it's unimaginable, it's unspeakable. I don't even know how to process it. I don't even know how to I want it to go away, right? And that's the key. The key is the thought of, I just want this to go away. How do I get this to go away? And one of the things that I even saw today on social media about suicide, someone called it selfish. And I'm like, at the end of the day, you would have to understand the mind of a person that feels like they have no other way of escape. Okay. I can only imagine how a person feels when they feel they have no way of escape. I can't escape the thoughts. I can't escape what happened. I can't escape the trauma. I can't escape the dreams. I can't escape. Like every day they wake up, there's no escape. I have no way out of this. And I've tried therapy. They put me on meds. I've tried counting. I've tried all the things that the people tell me I should try in order to feel okay so that I can wake up and still look forward to tomorrow. I have done it all, and I still feel this deep pain on the inside of me. We have seen, there was another influencer, a young woman who committed suicide a couple months ago. I literally just read an article of a young Black high school student that attempted to commit suicide because of the racism that she was experiencing, being harassed by some of the white and Spanish kids in her class, to the point of the minute she decides to fight back and take a stand for herself, the school retaliates against her and sends her to a very harsh, a very strict alternative school for 45 days, to the point where she just thought she had, I can't live like this. And she tried to commit suicide. We have heard it time and time again with children committing suicide due to bullying that they have been subjected to at the hands of other kids. We have seen it where, in the church world, pastors, leaders have committed suicide. We have seen it all. And one of the things I don't fully understand is that, why is our commentary still the same surrounding suicide? Like, we have not elevated enough to fully understand that this person literally lost hope. And when you lose hope to the point where you don't see tomorrow, you don't see a future, the only thing you're thinking of in that very moment is, I just want this to go away. I want it to go away. How I feel, I want this to go away. I don't want to feel like this anymore. I don't want to be like this anymore. I don't want to be a burden onto the people around me. I don't want the people around me constantly worrying. I want to even remove their worry of my safety, because at this point, I don't know how to deal. Like, you have to understand the mind of a person, because, like I said, you could check on a person every single day and they will tell you they're fine and they're not okay. I know I am notorious for that. People will ask, "Hey, Nakia, how you doing?" "Oh, I'm good. How are you?" "Oh, I'm all right." "Oh, yeah, everything is good." But deep down inside, everything isn't good. Right? And why isn't everything good? Because it's something that I'm feeling, something that I'm dealing with, that I'm not ready to communicate. So a person can literally not tell you, no matter how many times you call, you text, you invite them out, They smile, they laugh, they joke, they dance, they sing, they drink, they do all these things because deep down inside, there's a mask on. Because as long as I keep this mask on, I can keep the charade going. But until I reach a boiling point, and at that point, I'm like, I can't even keep up this charade anymore because this charade has it's gone on for too long, to the point where, yeah, I can put on a show for you, but when I'm home and I'm in my alone time and I'm by myself, there's no more show. It's just me, and it's my thoughts, and it's my feelings, and it's my emotions, and it's everything that I feel that's weighing me down. It's what is my purpose? It's what am I really here to do? It's, am I fulfilling everything that I possibly could want? What if I don't have enough? What if I'm struggling? You don't know what a person is truly dealing with until they actually welcome you into their world, where they feel safe enough to allow you into what they are really dealing with. And that takes time. There are even situations where even your significant other will not fully understand and know what you are dealing with, because you have not been able, you don't want to burden them down with what you feel. It's so many different layers, you know what I'm saying? And it's so many different reasons. And a lot of the times what I find is that we're so insensitive to actual suicide, to the point where we've become extremely ignorant to its causes, right? And because we've become ignorant to its causes, our very natural reaction is to always say, oh, you need to make sure you check on your strong friends. Well, no, because you can check on anybody for however long that you want to check on them for. Whether that person lets you into what's going on the inside is up to them. That's within their control. And a lot of the times, someone that is truly battling with suicidal thoughts, suicidal tendencies, suicidal ideologies, a lot of the times they don't even feel safe enough to let you in on the thoughts and the ideas and the thing. Because, and the truth of the matter is, and I'm just going to be very transparent, right? There had been times where I would literally, like, if I was to the point of being so overwhelmed with grief, being so overwhelmed with just life, I could be like driving and it'd be on a regular day, and a thought would literally come into my mind and be like, just run off the side of this road and everything will be over. It'll all be over. Everything will be over. You won't have to worry about, you won't have to feel, and you won't have to think. And guess what? And no one else would have to be on this ride with you, because your emotions are going up, down, side to side, left to right. And the truth of the matter is, when you have thoughts like that, it is not something that you literally just wake up with one day and you're just like, oh, I feel suicidal today. No, it's not even that. Literally, it can be like an impulsive type of a thought that comes into your mind, and you sit there and you're like, yo, did I just think that? And you battle it. What people don't understand is that you literally battle these thoughts for a long time, because you're fighting against what your mind, what's going on in your mind, what's happening to you behind the scenes. You're literally battling against it. I will never forget, I had a situation happen to me where I was raped, and the only thing that I could think of is, I'm tired of this. And I don't want this to ever happen to me again. And I'm tired of feeling violated. I'm tired of feeling unsafe. I'm tired of this feeling. I don't want to feel like that. Nobody knew how I was feeling. I didn't voice. As many people as I speak to on a daily basis, no one knew. No one. Because I didn't tell anyone. You don't always feel safe to tell anyone what's going on in your mind. You don't always feel safe to tell anyone how you're feeling, because 9 times out of 10, the person will just tell you, you know what? You got to deal with it. You got to get over it. You just got to move forward. You're strong. You can handle it. And it's like, no, I can't because I'm breaking. And you're not understanding that I'm actually breaking. And that's what's happening. People are breaking. And when you break to the point of you have literally lost hope. You've lost sight. You have no foresight. You cannot see beyond where you currently are today. I can't see it. How do I continue to live in a constant state of I don't trust myself? I don't trust what I can do. I don't trust these thoughts. I don't trust the words that come out my mouth. And then you begin to shut down and you begin to just literally silo yourself. And what the outside world sees is a facade, because what's happening on the inside of you, oh, you feel every bit of it. You're torn. You're ripped to shreds. You're literally feeling, it's like, like when you go outside and you feel the first chill and you're like, oh, woo. Imagine feeling like that every single day when you wake up. Every single day when you wake up, you can't breathe. You feel suffocated. Every day when you wake up, you are literally sitting there and you are thinking to yourself, how am I going to make it? Not through the day. How am I going to make it in the next 15 minutes? How am I going to make it in the next 30 minutes? How am I going to make it in the next hour? You literally live your life by attempting to make it. But we don't understand that. Because a lot of the times we're taught that suicide is a spirit, and we're taught that we can just cast it down. We're not taught to understand mental health. We are not taught to understand the inner workings of the brain. We are not taught to understand serotonin levels. We're not taught to understand anything outside of, you know what? It is a spirit, and you need to go before God, and you need to pray that spirit away, that suicidal spirit. You need to pray it away right now in the name of Jesus. Pray it away. And you go before God, and you go before all the elders, and they touching you, and they laying hands on you. Some of them might even put their feet on you, because they're going to tell that spirit to come up and out, and all the things that they're going to do. We're going to speak to it, and it is going to flee in the name of Jesus. And you do all of that to wake up the next morning and still feel the same way, because it's not a spirit. And until we deal with our mental health, until we deal with our traumas, until we deal with our environment, our instability, our feeling of insecurity, until we deal with what is really happening and what is causing a decline in our mental well-being, we're going to constantly see situations. Like I just said, there was a young teenage girl who was experiencing racism. She was being harassed. She did what was right, went to the school. Her parents went to the school. No one helped her. She felt helpless because everyone refused to hear her, because she's a young Black girl. So what did she do? She tried to end her life. Could you imagine being a parent walking into a room and seeing your child lying there? And I know there have been some parents that have definitely experienced that very emotion of walking in on their child, seeing their child laying there almost lifeless because their child attempted suicide or their child actually committed suicide. You can't fathom that. So imagine one of your loved ones, a friend, going through something very similar, and they see no way out. And the only thing you hear from other people is, make sure you check on your strong friends. What do you think we were doing? Do you think we all just sat back idle? Do you think the person literally had nobody? But it's a feeling that goes deep down on the inside, when even what people don't even understand is that even a person that is suicidal thinks of the relationships that they have with other people. And then they reason, and the rationale then becomes, life would be better off without me here, so that I'm not burdening them with how I feel. Because the truth of the matter is, a lot of the times when people begin to express how they feel, the person that is on the receiving end of that expression often feels burdened. And so, and a lot of the times when a person is suicidal, one of the worst things they don't ever want is another person to feel burdened by their problems. So they hide them, they mask them. Oh, how are we? Oh, everything is good. It's a little rough day, but I'm here. I made it. It was a little rough. People had got on my nerves today, but I'm all right. I made it. Yes, I did. And then what happens? The cycle. You never know what could cause a person to become suicidal. At the end of the day, there's a lot of different reasons. There's so many different reasons. Child abuse, bullying, someone being sexually assaulted, someone being harassed, literally some form of a chemical imbalance in their brain that they can't seem to get measured, right? Like a lot of the times what happens is that doctors will run all these different types of tests. They start checking all these different hormone levels. They check everything that there is that they could possibly check with, especially when a person has suicidal thoughts or suicidal ideation. They begin to check all these different things, and then you begin all these different levels of diagnosis, right? So they might consider you a manic depressant. They all bunch of different diagnoses that goes along with this. And one of the things that they then work to do is put you in a treatment program and to understand what is causing your thought process. Is there a behavior? Is there a trauma? And then they begin to, figure out what's going to be the best program for you. But as they're figuring it out, you're literally going through a trial and error period to figure out what works for you. And what happens when you're tired of going through the trial and error period because nothing seems to be working? These are the things that we have to really think about. And these are the things that we have to consider when a person says, I have suicidal thoughts, I have suicidal ideation, I have suicidal, I don't know. It's a feeling that I just feel that I would be better. The world would be better off if I was not here. That's where that thought comes from. You know what I'm saying? I would be better off because I won't have to feel. I won't have to wake up every day. I won't have to fight to breathe every single day. I won't have to do this. I don't speak to my family. I don't have anyone to really support me. I barely have any friends because they barely ever want to listen to me. Guess what? That's what happens. A person can have an entire village around them and still feel alone. A person can be in a room full of people and still feel alone. And we don't understand that. We don't. How could you feel alone and there's a whole bunch of people here? Very easily, because I'm not relating to any of these people and they're not relating to me. I might can talk to you, but we don't have a relationship. We're not relating. We're not connecting. We're not bonded. So I don't feel that. And then the flip side of it, people have families and everything, families, and they're very close. And one of the things, what? I don't want to be selfish to them because they're constantly worrying about me. So you know what? I feel like this is what I need to do, because then it's going to offer them something better. They won't have to deal with me as a burden onto them. They won't have to deal with my mood swings. They won't have to deal with me being up and down. They won't have to deal with me being hot and cold. They won't have to deal with me going left one day and then right the other day. They won't have to deal with any of this anymore because I'm going to set them free. I'm going to rid them of me because they're not going to have to deal with it. And it's a tough thing because there's no right or wrong. And there just isn't. There's no right or wrong. And I think that we need to begin to really have real conversations about mental health. Like, we really need to start having real open conversations about mental health, about suicide prevention, about anything possible in order to preserve a life. Because what's happening is that somehow, some way, the message is getting lost, and we gotta find a way. Hold up, Tay. I'm about to send you the link because I just happened to look down. Boom. Y'all know. Copy. Boom. Here's my do. I like having conversations with licensed psychologists because I feel that it adds on a layer of information that is imperative for life, I feel. And I just think that we need to kind of pull the layers back now and really begin to deal with suicide, because I literally saw probably an additional maybe 3 or 4 posts from people who literally were even posting on social media like, what is my purpose? Why am I even here? I don't have one, right? And the sad part about it is that we spend so much time on superficial things and things that really don't matter, to the point where we're not even realizing that some of the people that are connected with us are going through something. And it's like we chalk it up. We see it on a post and we chalk it up, to, oh, you fine, you better not stop talking like this. And it's like, no, if a person's literally took the time to write it out, they are literally struggling with something. Here is Tay. Hey, sis.
Hey sis, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
I am all right. I'm better. I was recovering from surgery, but I'm back. This is like my first live in forever. I think since the last time I was on with you, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, welcome.
Good to see you. Good to see you.
If some of y'all don't know, Tay is a licensed psychologist, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I'm a psychologist and professor of psychology.
Which is why when I saw that she was on, I said, if you want to come up, let's come up, because I want to have a real conversation. And, I always welcome the doctor.
It's good to be in the number.
Hello. Okay. So go ahead, doctor, because I seeing all these reports today, I said, this was a little tough.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that made it the most difficult is that it was a shocker. And it was reminiscent of Robin Williams.
Right.
Because no one would have ever thought, of course, there might have been signs and symptoms in the inner circle, but anytime that I've seen DJ Twitch just excited, full of energy, smiling, but you never know. And it speaks to the silent screams and the silent suffering, but it also begs the question, why are people silent?
Mm-hmm.
And there's so many responses to that. And there's some responses that we probably haven't dug up yet. But one of them is stigma. Like, I was having a conversation with my mom when I came in the house, and she said, I think it was Dondre Whitfield. He said, women are allowed to say that they're having a tough time publicly and be open about it, but men not so much. We've made strides. Like, I posted a link in one of the groups I moderate. It's and anyone who's watching, write this down, share it with a mail, therapyforblackmen.org. So, like, there are some spaces, there are therapists of color who hold space for men of color who have suicidal thoughts, who have history of anxiety and depression. There are some spaces, but there's still work to be done. How do we know? Because we still have so many people dying by suicide, because we still have so many people who have undiagnosed generalized anxiety disorder, and they're suffering in silence. Like, we say that because of the alliteration, but people really are.
They literally are suffering in silence. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it, like you said, why? And a lot of it has to do with, I never knew there was, therapyforblackmen.org, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But like you said, the stigma of a Black man, I had posted something just yesterday, but it caused, like, on my Instagram page, it caused a dialogue. And the dialogue was from a Black man that basically said, no, us Black men, we're supposed to be this, we're supposed to be that, this is who we are. And I'm like,
and that is why people don't go to therapy. Because there's so much pressure and so much expectation. And, it's sometimes it just gets to be too much. And I was listening to what you said. Yet those of us who are, on this side, if we haven't gone through, if we haven't had suicidal thoughts, we don't understand what it's like to be at the point where it's just like, I've took all I can stand until I couldn't stand no more.
And I still stood, and now I'm like,
making light of with that. But if we haven't been there, then we can't say that it was selfish. We can't say that, because we're not in that person's shoes. Of course, everyone is entitled to their opinions, but it's difficult.
I have fallen into the belief that now I don't feel that everyone is entitled to their own opinions anymore. I'm just saying, I just don't feel.
I forgot who I was talking to.
And I say that respectfully and disrespectfully all at the same time, for the simple fact that sometimes these opinions are truly dumb.
And damaging. Dumb and damaging.
Yeah. And it's like, at what point will you be accountable for the nonsense that comes out your mouth to understand that what you just said has a deeper implication, but because it's your opinion, you feel like you're entitled to it because I'm entitled to have my own opinion. You are, but you should have a well-informed, well-educated, and well-put-together opinion about something before you begin to just spew off nonsense that you've just heard that's just been passed down over time. Like, for example, suicide is selfish. That's some crap that we were just taught. I never forget when I first heard this too, and I used to be of the belief system of it's a selfish act. No, I believe it's a selfless act. Why? Because 9 times out of 10, when a person is suicidal, one of the biggest things that they think of is removing the burden of themselves off of other people.
Yes.
I no longer want to be a burden onto those who are around me. So let me do this to me so they don't have to deal with me. They don't have to deal with the implication and the repercussions of me, because there are times, think about it. When a person is going through all the things in which they go through, they can be explosive, they can be abusive, they can be mentally, physically, and emotionally damaging to those around them. It's a wide range of ish that they will put a person through.
Yes.
And one of the biggest, I just don't want them to be burdened by me anymore. I want to remove that from them. I don't want them to feel. Then it turns into self, and it says, I don't want to feel like this anymore. I'm over it.
Yeah, things would be better if I wasn't here. I wouldn't have to deal with all of the weight that I'm carrying around now. Yeah.
And a lot of the times, if they don't have the right therapist or psychiatrist, they don't know how to unpack that weight.
Right.
And then on top of
If
that,
they've even made it to forget having the right
we
therapist
made it to
or
one.
psychiatrist, it's having one.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's already difficult, especially in our community. It's already difficult to get someone to sit with a professional. It might be more likely if the professional looks like them because they feel like they can be related to, and that's understandable. But psychiatrists, oh no, I'm not going to take meds for the rest of my life. I'm not crazy. These are all the things that, and there's an entire soapbox that I don't want to know if you want to get into with regards to medication, but it's not, sometimes it doesn't even get to the point of being with the right provider. It's being with the provider at all.
Yeah. And even some of the, because in the sad part about it is that sometimes even with the meds, until they get your formula right, they keep trying.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times in the midst of that try, people give up because I'm tired.
Yep.
Why can't we just get this right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You
It's
told
not
me
working. It must be
right.
me.
It
Something,
must
I
be
must
me.
be broken because if the meds aren't working,
I must be unrepairable.
Yep.
I can't be fixed. Nothing is going to work for me because they told me these meds would work, and I'm still feeling anxiety. I'm still waking up with the pounding of a chest, and I don't know why.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Because sometimes you don't know why. Sometimes it is literally like your body. Like I have anxiety. I want to say it was yesterday. I wasn't even doing anything and literally had a full-blown anxiety attack, and I was like, I'm so over this because I don't know why this just happened. It just happened.
If
And
you
I
understand where it's coming from, that's even more distressing. It's like if I use the example of a leak. If you have a leak in your ceiling, if you have a leak in your home, ceiling, wherever, if you know where it's coming from, then it's like, okay, yeah,
I can fix it.
Yeah, I can fix it, I can patch it or whatever. But if you see it, but you don't see the source, your hands are tied, you don't know, you have the anxiety of not knowing, the stress of trying to find it, you get tired. And one thing that you mentioned before I got on was chemical imbalance, and people will, throw that around, but it's legitimate.
It's
Some
real.
people, some of the things that you've heard us say, those who are watching, oh, people would be better off if I was gone. It might not make sense to you, or it might sound ludicrous to you, but for someone who is in the throes of depression, someone whose serotonin is low, and their neurotransmitters they're imbalanced, they're not at levels where they should be, these things make sense to them. So it's really challenging for someone who is experiencing that to hear all of these vilifying comments and marginalizing comments when it could legitimately be a chemical imbalance. That's what medication does. Medication addresses the chemical in this particular situation. For example, depression. If they prescribe, let's say, an SSRI, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor, fancy for it increases your serotonin so that you feel better. It's a biological thing. Someone who needs to take insulin, they need to take metformin to manage their diabetes. Do we marginalize them?
Nope.
We
Normal.
don't. We don't. We'll actually encourage somebody, go to the doctor so they can give you something for that. If someone has an infection. I had an infection for like 3 weeks before I had the surgery. Oh, go to the doctor so you can get some antibiotics. I took the medication so that I could address something that was imbalanced or not right in my body. So it's the same thing if someone needs to take medication to adjust an imbalance that's in their brain, which is on their body, right? Sometimes it makes sense when you make the medical comparison to the medical health or physical health to the mental health. Sometimes that comparison is needed to kind of help people make sense of it, and sometimes that doesn't even work, because if it worked, then we would probably have less stigma and less marginalizing and less comments like, you know, uh, suicide is selfish. I mean, and again, everyone has their opinions, but if you understand, I'm not excusing the act, but excusing is very different from giving an explanation. If we can put an explanation to the behavior, then we are better equipped to address it going forward.
Mm-hmm.
We know that there's a biological background. There are societal backgrounds. There are familial backgrounds. Like,
It
if a
all
person gets
plays.
to the point of wanting to take their life, there was a perfect storm of stuff that led them there. Trust and believe. It's not always, more often than not, it's not attention seeking. If
No.
they actually go through with it, they wanted to. There's plenty of research. You can Google it. You can look at the scholarly journals. And of course, you can't act them
Scholarly
posthumously,
journals.
but after, right, not like your friend and them who majored in psychology at the community college. I'm no shade. I work at one. I'm no shade, but I'm just saying, like, being trained in it is different. Like, there's background.
Mm-hmm.
There are reasons why people get to this point. Again, I'm not supporting it, but providing an explanation shows people that they're supported so that they don't have to get to that point. It's like, if you imagine having these thoughts, and if feel free to interrupt me if I'm rambling. Imagine
Mm-mm.
having these thoughts and you sit down with someone and you know what, it makes sense why you are in distress. How reassuring and normalizing and validating is it to hear someone say, "Wow, I can understand why you're in distress. What you just shared with me, I felt the intensity of that statement." Sometimes people just want to be heard. Like you said, sometimes it's not enough because they've already made the decision. But if we show people that they're supported, then that might be the one thing that keeps them from engaging in an act such as suicide. And even, like, there's so many different movements. For instance, families of those who die by suicide,
Mm-hmm.
they are very active in language use. So there's a lot of activism surrounding the language. So it's not committed suicide. It's died by
Died
suicide.
by suicide. Mm-hmm.
It's not a successful suicide attempt because they don't want to associate these punitive, and like they don't want positivity, like, so it's like, no, they completed suicide. And there's so many different topics that can be discussed, but not just so that we have something to talk about, so that we can be better for ourselves, so that we can be better for those around us who are suffering and we don't even know.
Right.
There's so much to talk about. We could sit here for hours and talk about the things that lead a person to have these thoughts.
Because it's a
But what
lot.
yeah, families. We could have a whole session right there. Because some of us have very supportive families and encourage us to go to therapy. And especially during COVID, I told you I work at a community college in
Mm-hmm.
the wellness center. And one of my students, I remember her, actually, I think it might have been more than one. Now that I'm taking my classes remotely, I have to be in the house with the very people I went to school to get away from.
I can't escape.
So sometimes people feel like, you know what, I can't escape, so this might be my only hope. Sometimes all it takes is just, instead of sharing that opinion that I said everyone has a right to, sometimes it takes all it takes is just listening. Hear where a person's coming from. Sometimes people just want to be heard.
Especially if
Sometimes
they
they need a
feel they have
pillow.
no voice. No one hears me. No one listens to me.
Mhm.
No one understands me.
Right. I'm the only one going through it.
I,
Yeah.
you're not going to understand this.
Yeah. And that's one of the reasons why group therapy, although people kind of shy away from it, especially people in Black and brown communities, because what goes on in the house stays in the house.
Stays in our house.
So I'm
Hello.
not going to group therapy to tell. It's not that
Everybody.
I'm telling one person, my business therapist, but I'm telling all y'all. No. But one of the positive things about group therapy is that at the very least, you realize that you are in a room with other people who have had a similar experience. It might not have been the same, but a similar experience. So that shows you that you're not alone. That shows you that it's like AA. If
Mm-hmm.
you go to a AA, NAGA, whatever A meeting, you're in a room with people who have a similar experience.
Yep.
So that tells you you're not alone. And sometimes all it takes is to know, wow, someone else understands, someone else gets it. But you have to have people who are willing to listen. Sometimes it's a therapist, but there are times when people don't get to that point. They don't get to the
Right.
point of a therapist because of the stigma. So it's going to take for that friend to listen and say, that sounds like warning signs of suicide. Maybe I should give them therapy for blackmen.org, or maybe I should give them the link for therapy for Latinx.com or .org. I don't remember, or the Psychology Today website. Like sometimes you have to listen so that you can be a support, not be the therapist, be a support. That might be the only way a person gets connected to care. And yeah, sorry, I'm rambling.
Find a level. No, but it's a good ramble. So we take rambling. But it's resources, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whatever the resource is that a person absolutely needs in order to get through. And sometimes we have to be able to understand our own limitations and understand when we're not helping.
Yes.
And I think that is a personal responsibility of the individual that is in close proximity of a person that battles depression, battles anxiety, whether they're manic, whether they're bipolar, whatever it is, because at the end of the day, we're all not equipped to handle it. I know I'm not. Hence why I took one psychology class and I dropped it. One and done. I was like, I'm not even going to finish this class. I read the first 2 pages of that darn book and was like, this is not, it wasn't my cup of tea. I don't want to deal with frontal lobes and anything like that. And what happens, I don't even want to talk about it. I can do sociology. Psychology is not my thing. I want to deal with the environment. You know what I'm saying, right? What are these outside elements? I let y'all deal with the brain. So I know for myself, I am not the go-to person if you are deep in crisis. I'm letting y'all know now, I am not her. Because probably the biggest thing I might try and do is make you laugh. You might not want to laugh.
But that takes some self-reflection. You know yourself.
And I'm going to let everybody know. That ain't my tea. I'm going to let y'all go to Dr. Tay. I'm like, I got a doctor for you. She might be taking some new people. I don't know. But she might be the one to talk to you because it ain't me.
But you know what? While self-reflection is important and we have to know how we can assist, maybe you'll be assisting someone by posting links as resources. Maybe everyone has their place, you know what I mean? But one tool that I think is really useful is mental health first aid. I think it's mentalhealthfirstaid.org or .com, I'm not sure.
No
And
worries, I'll look it up.
It's a certification, it's a training, it's an 8-hour training. They offer them in person.
Mental health aid?
What'd you say?
Mental health aid?
First aid. And it's a training that ends in certification. And it doesn't train you to be a therapist, but it trains you to listen, how to communicate with someone who's in distress, and how to point them in the right direction so that you're almost a gatekeeper. Because again, a lot of people won't get connected to care if they aren't around people who recognize the signs and symptoms. So if you're interested, I was in one of the groups I moderate. Someone said, New York City used to offer free trainings. They did. And it was amazing. And it was good because now you have people who are certified in mental health first aid, and they know that, oh, this person is giving away all of their prized possessions. That might mean that they're having thoughts of ending their life. Let me give them some resources. Let me call mobile crisis. But that's not offered anymore. It's a possibility that it might, they might bring it back. I'm not sure. But you can go to the mental health first aid website and see um, where they're offering trainings. I know that I'm not sure where everyone is from who's tuning in, but in Nassau County, they offer trainings. If you live in Nassau County and you want someone to come in and do a mental health first aid training free of charge, because there is a cost involved, but there are different organizations have grants and things. They will do the training free of charge, so you're getting a free certification. So these are just resources that if you want to be a support to your community, you can get. And if you know the right avenues, you can get access to them for free. And you never know. You could be sitting next to someone on the 7 train, and they just decide to open up to you. And they say, you know what? I was about to jump on the tracks before I got on this train, and this is what's going on. You never know. People you can be in the most odd situation, and someone would open up to you. If you're certified in mental health first aid training, doesn't mean that you're going to give them therapy right there on the train, but you can definitely say, you know what? At this next stop, there's there Elmhurst Hospital is there. Do
Mm-hmm.
you think maybe you want to be assessed? Do you feel safe? Do you want me to go with you to, or these are different things that you'll learn. So I encourage anyone who's interested to look into that certification. Doesn't mean that you have to be a therapist. It just means that you're equipped to be a better support.
I like how that sounds. Become equipped to be a better support. Because I'm telling y'all, I might have to go on there because I am not that person. I'm like, we gonna cry together. I don't know what we gonna do.
I cannot. I can't with you, sis. I can't.
I cry, you cry, we cry together. That's what we gonna do.
All right, Ja. All right.
I am an empath. I will feel all of your emotions. We both been suicidal at that point. Hell,
I cannot.
I'm gonna pick up all your emotions and be like, oh my God. Oh, I don't want to feel like this either. Wait a minute. No. I'm gonna go in here, learn how to be a better support. Gail, I hope you listening. I'm gonna learn how to be a better support. She ain't listening right now, but she gonna listen in a minute. She gonna know I'm gonna learn how to be a better support.
I can't. But yes, you go ahead and be a support. And you know what? Just like, and this is a conversation that I remember coming up when George Floyd was murdered and all of the civil unrest, and people were kind of questioning, well, where do I fit in this whole activism piece? Because maybe I'm not an activist. Maybe I don't feel comfortable going to a protest. There are other ways that you can affect change. Find your space. Maybe you don't feel comfortable going on a live and sharing your feelings about DJ Twitch and his death, but maybe you can start a move on petition about getting access to mental health services in your community. Maybe you can get first aid certified in mental health first aid. Maybe you wanted career change and you want to be a psychologist. You want to be a licensed mental health counselor. There are different ways that you can support the people you love, support the people in your community, and just support people in the community at large. That's what's needed. We need to know that we have some place to go. You want to go where someone knows your name. And even if you don't know my name, at least have the desire to hear where I'm coming from, the desire to hear what I've experienced and what brought me to this point.
I agree. Because I like to go where everyone knows my name. You never know how it makes you feel when everyone knows your name, when you walk into a place and everyone greets you and they say hi, as opposed to when you walk in a place and everyone's looking at you like you're crazy. People don't understand, like, and this is why I'm saying I think everybody needs to go to mentalhealthfirstaid.org and begin to understand how even some of your mannerisms can affect a person.
Yeah.
Because you never know, on the wrong day with the wrong person, you could drive a person over the edge.
Yes.
And sometimes I don't think that we're fully aware of ourselves. And because we're not fully aware of ourselves, we then do damaging things to other people.
Yeah.
Because we're not aware of ourselves. Right? Like I had went through something a few years ago, and I had said, if this was me of a year or two prior, it probably would have killed me. Why? Because you don't know what a person can handle mentally, emotionally, and or physically. You don't, and especially because we're constantly thinking that everybody's strong, you strong, you strong. No. But what you just did had the potential to break me, and you're not even acknowledging the fact that it could have. The only reason why it didn't is because I took the time to heal from what was, so that when this came, it didn't take me out.
Right.
But it could have.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So me being the person that I am, I think of the could have, although it didn't.
Yep.
That's the key. And that's what people don't understand, because that begins to play over and over again in your mind until your mind is able to reason with, but it didn't.
Yeah.
And I think that as a whole, as people, we have got to do better. When the Bible says, love thy neighbor as you love yourself, do unto others as you would want others to do unto you.
There's a caveat.
Right? So if I am given the command to love, why would I want to inflict any type of hurt onto another person? And why would I do something to someone that I wouldn't want done in return to myself? And I think that a lot of the traumas that we experience, emotional, physical, mental, is because we don't understand those two concepts. And we literally think that, well, you're responsible for your own healing. Well, your ass is responsible for hurting me. How about that? You're responsible for what you did to me, and I'm going to be responsible to go after my healing, but that does not absolve you of the responsibility that you have, because you hurt me. You inflicted a pain upon me that I did not ask for. And that's what I feel like people don't understand. It's that a person that has experienced any level of trauma, anything societal, I didn't ask for this to come my way.
Right.
It came, and my mind cannot perceive it. How the hell do I go from having a job to now I have no job? I'm trying to figure out what the hell am I going to do next. I'm trying to figure out how these bills are going to get paid. I never forget, years ago, I promise you, it was back when I was living down in Atlanta, and I was just going through it financially. It was rough. It was hard. And I literally sold everything that I possibly could have that would be worth anything. And I sold it all. Didn't care about none of it, right? Mm-hmm. Mentally, my mind said, but you worked hard for this. You worked hard. But the situation that was at hand was, it doesn't matter. You got to get rid of it. Sell it. Sell it all. No matter how this crap makes you feel, no matter what it is, sell it all, because you got to come up out of this. I went through the very same thing after that whole other debacle. Mm-hmm. When you're left down to absolutely nothing and you're literally trying to crawl and fight your way out of it, and you have people attacking you left and right because they're not understanding you're literally in mode fight or flight. So I either got to fight for my life right now, or I'm going to take off from this life.
And there's the freeze, fight, flight, or freeze. And some people are struggling because they're stuck in it, and
Mm-hmm.
then they blame themselves for being stuck when it's a physiological response. I was just having this conversation with a friend earlier when it comes to sexual assault. And I know we're kind of going off on a tangent, but
It
tying it all
all
back,
relate,
these
yeah.
are all things that can lead a person down that road. And we were just talking about how, uh, a perpetrator might say, "Oh, well, he or she wanted it because their body respond right, their body responded." That doesn't it doesn't mean that they wanted it. So in very much the same way, trauma, it's the same thing. Fight, flight, or freeze. So your body might freeze. You might not be able to fight off that situation. You might be in a relational trauma type of situation and you can't fight, so you avoid. There's so many different ways that you can look at it, and all of them can be damaging depending on the person, depending on their level of resilience, depending on
Mm-hmm.
the experiences that they've had. We're the product of our experiences, right? The product of our circumstances. So if you've experienced traumatic things before and you didn't process them appropriately, you experience another trauma on top of that. Now we have complex trauma. You're still not addressing it because you're afraid of the stigma. It's a cycle. How do we break the cycle? By having these conversations, by sharing resources,
And that
by actually utilizing the resources.
utilize the resources,
Hmm.
and I think that's the thing that people don't understand. When a person constantly lives and feels like they're constantly being violated or taken advantage of, and they can't find a way out of that. I know that that's how I felt for a very long time, probably up until a few months ago, right? When the last thing happened. And I was like, you know what? I am tired. Y'all not going to keep violating me. Y'all
Yep.
not going to keep testing me. Y'all not going to keep trying to take advantage of me. Like, no, we're not going to keep, this ain't going to keep happening, right?
Right.
And I can't say that I did not feel suicidal, because I did, because I was tired.
Mm-hmm.
But the difference was that I had to take the time to process it. So I
Yeah.
shut down.
Hmm.
I'm not talking to nobody. I don't want to talk to nobody. I'm good.
And it was probably perceived as you being you acting what funny style, or you being rude, or thinking you're better, or no.
But
I
I had to
shut down
process. And
because
I
I
didn't
didn't.
care. I didn't care
Yeah.
who felt what. I needed to process what happened to me,
Right.
because it didn't happen to nobody else. It happened to me. So I got to process this now.
Mhm.
Right. And when I have to, and if I need to shut down, I'm going to shut down. Like, I am going to, like, it was bad. I don't know how much stuff I threw out. I gotta throw this away. I gotta go throw this away. I gotta throw this away. I gotta throw this away. This is gone. Now what you gonna do?
Mhm. Now that you're
Now
down to nothing, now
what you
now
gonna
what
do?
now what we do? Mhm.
Get up, Nakia.
But I don't feel it in my body, my mind, or my spirit to get up.
But get up, Nakia.
It's a constant. Mhm.
And the crazy part about it is that all I knew from those months was, I gotta go to work. I gotta go to the gym. That's all I knew.
Mhm.
No matter what, I gotta go to work and I gotta go to the gym. That's it. But then there comes a point in time when none of that even matters anymore.
Yeah.
And I told myself I never want to get there.
Mhm.
So what
And
you
how
gonna do?
I know you're the host, but I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you do to ensure that you don't get there again?
I had to change. So for me, I had to change some behaviors. So for me, I had to change some behaviors. And I also had to change who I was around. But it was just important for me to do that for myself. Like I literally had to change that and say, nope, not going to be around you. And if I am around you, I ain't doing that. You know what I'm saying? Like it literally, it became me saying, I got to change. That's what I had to do.
I like that you started with, I had to make some changes, because even though the situation, someone inflicted some kind of pain on you, whether or not they take responsibility, like you said, healing is in our hands.
Mm-hmm.
So you had to change some behaviors. Sometimes, just like they say in AA, you have to change people, places, and things.
Yeah, and I had to be cognizant of damaging behaviors even unto myself.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Right? Like you have to be aware, and this is only in this situation. Trust and believe it, because it's a very particular situation. It was only in this situation where I can say I had to rethink a whole lot and think about how I was moving, think about all that stuff or whatever. And once I realized that, I was like, all right, you got it. You're good. You're safe now. You know what I'm saying? Because the key was I wasn't feeling safe. You're safe now. So now you know what to do. Now you know how to move. Now you know how to act. Now you know this.
Right.
So now you can move forward. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. There are other instances where, like what happened before, when the way I was feeling, I did not think that there was any way out of it outside of me literally trying to take my own life, because I was just like, this is too, I don't know how to deal with this. Right. Mm-hmm. So it's a flip. It's like two sides to this coin with how you deal with things, because in one instance it was a pain, although some feel that I inflicted it upon myself by being in a relationship with a person. However, when you can't see beyond that, no matter what other people try and put in your mind, when you can't see beyond your personal, you can't see beyond it, that's not self-inflicted. You know what I'm saying? And it was that going on, then on top of having to deal with all the backlash and all the words. And I don't think people fully understand that when a person is already dealing with an issue, and then you then come behind that issue and then re-blame them for the issue because you did this, you did that, you should have saw, you should have.
You're re-traumatizing.
Yeah, you're re-traumatizing a victim already of something that they didn't ask for. So I find, and that sent me on a whole different spiral, down a whole different path, down a whole different way. And I'm like, sometimes we as individuals, like you said, we got to mentalhealthfirstaid.org. We got to learn how to be better support. Because we don't know the words to say. We don't know the right words to say. We don't know how to just be supportive of a person that is going through hell. You know what I'm saying? And then I never forget this was years ago, back right before I did weight loss surgery. You got to go through all these different doctors and stuff like that, and they got to give you all this information about your hormone levels, your vitamin levels, all this stuff. And the doctor, she was a nutritionist. She was a holistic nutritionist. She was looking at my whole nutritional panel and all this other extra information. And she said, do you sometimes feel depressed? And I'm like, yeah, how'd you know that? She was like, yeah, so your serotonin levels, this is where they're at. And it was low. Right? And she was like, we need to get that higher. She was like, but this is being driven by the foods that you eat and how it's interacting inside of your body. So if you eat foods that are high in sugars, this is going to continuously drop your serotonin levels. I literally had to learn how to pay attention to what I eat and how I feel after I eat it to know whether or not that food is actually playing with my brain.
And that goes
And,
back to self-awareness.
Yeah, but a lot of us, we're not taught that. We're not taught that eating foods high in sugar literally can make you feel depressed. We're not taught. How many damn cakes we done had as kids? You know what I'm saying? I love you like a fat killer cake. Listen. But we're not taught properly.
Right.
So we drink all these high in sugar sodas, all this fast food, all the chemicals that they put in there, and you wondering why you feeling stuffed and down all at the same time. Mad about your fupa. I know I'd be mad about my fupa, but you know what I'm saying? Just mad. Just saying, I'd be upset about that thing. I'd be like, you just gonna keep popping up?
I can't.
That just sends you in a hole. I be looking down at it like, you don't want to go away yet? Oh, okay. So you just gonna stay right there.
I feel like you made a fupa reference the last time I was on.
Probably did, because the fupa that thing is depressing. Hell, I'm gonna have to tell the doctor that. That might get me some. Never mind. I'm gonna have to tell the doctor.
I can't.
You just don't want to go away. Just keep coming back. No matter what I do, boom, it popped right back up. Just disrespectful to life at this point. But that's how that, like when you think, I know y'all, see, I told you I make you laugh. That's what I do, right?
You're doing a good job, sis. Doing a good job.
But that's how that is when it's something that's nagging here.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes away and then it comes right back. And then it goes away and then it comes right back. And you're like, how the hell can I get this to go away and not come back? Because I don't want it to come back, but it keeps coming back. Like no matter what, that's what Paul said. What did Paul say? Every time I try
to do good,
evil
is always present.
And he was like, but I'm trying to do this the right way.
Right. I'm trying not to lay hands on nobody. I'm trying not to knock if you buck.
You done blinded me, then made me see, and all this stuff. And the seeing was different from before the blinding. Let's be real. And now that my eyes is wide open, I don't want to see none of this no more. But every time I try to do good, here come. That's how I felt. I work out, and no matter what, I have one drink, and here comes this fupa. It's back, showing his ugly little face. That's how people feel. Why can I get rid of this thorn in my side, whatever that thing is? But then
why can't I get rid of this thought? Why can't I get rid of these nightmares? Why can't I get rid of these flashbacks? Why can't I get rid of these depressive symptoms? Why can't I get rid of the anxiety? And it continues. And if they keep asking why, they're in this cycle and no one intervenes to break it. No, I mean, it could happen through divine intervention because we know God can do anything and he's all powerful. But he uses people.
And that's what I'm about to say, because he uses people, because he got pills and all of that for all of that. For his divine intervention means you need to divinely go get you that psychiatrist, psychologist, and get you put on these meds.
Like I always say, the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof, the earth and they that dwell therein.
That's the Bible.
What's that? That's 24:1, Psalm 24:1.
It's a word.
Therapists, psychologists, nurse practitioners, we are the they that dwell therein.
Y'all dwell. We got to utilize you.
So like utilize us. Like we here. What utilize the services. God gave us the opportunity to get this training, to get these degrees, to get these certifications so that we can be of service. There's plenty of scriptures about sound counsel. Sound counsel. It doesn't say sound counsel only comes from your pastor.
Nope. Don't tell some of them that, but nope.
I'm not. I ain't touching it.
Because it doesn't. Sometimes you need a therapist.
Yeah. And sometimes, no shade to your homeboy, your homegirl, but sometimes you need somebody who's unbiased, who doesn't know you, and who's trained to synthesize all the information that you're spewing, interpret it, and sometimes that's going to lead to an aha moment. It might not lead to an aha moment, but it's going to help you adjust your behaviors, adjust your thoughts. It's called cognitive restructuring. Sometimes people don't realize that they are driven by their negative automatic thoughts, and it's just
Oh,
on a tape, and it keeps going and going and going and going and going, and these self-deprecating thoughts, and they wonder why they can't focus on the work that's been put in front of them, because they're telling themselves in their head that they're not
thank
good
you.
enough, that they can't do it. Sometimes it takes a therapist to I as a negative automatic thought. Let's write that down. Let's put words to it. Let's create an alternative thought so that when you think it, you can replace it. Like, you need the professional to help you go through that.
I agree. You know what? And maybe we need to do a show on that because, again, I'm going to take this course, mentalhealthfirstaid.org, because I am one that if you are constantly negative, I am not talking to you. And that probably is not the way to go.
Because you could be triggering someone. You
Okay.
never know. No, but seriously, like, people might have abandonment issues, or they might think you're rejecting them when you're just trying to protect your peace.
And that's all I'm trying to really do is protect my peace, because at the end of the day, it is very hard to continuously hear negative thoughts and conversation on a daily basis.
Yes.
And for
Even
me,
for a therapist. Just saying. I said even for a therapist. Just saying.
I heard, because they say that's why most therapists got a therapist, because y'all hear so many different things on a daily basis, and then you got to unwind and unpack all of that stuff, and then everybody got to unwind and unpack, because I know
My appointment's tomorrow at 11, sis.
I know that's right. Listen here.
I have no problem saying it, because you need to decompress somewhere. You need to dump somewhere. I work with a lot of people who have experienced trauma, complex trauma. I give the example. I saw a student. She had a panic attack, so she was coming to me for a follow-up, and no exaggeration, she dumped over 10 years of trauma on me in a 2.5-hour span. Typically, sessions are anywhere from 45 to 50 minutes. 2.5 hours. And she had no therapy. She had received a diagnosis, but never got any help. And she dumped it on me. You need to dump it somewhere. It's difficult to constantly get, and it's not just for therapists, but anyone. So I understand, protect your peace. But again, if you are passionate about mental health and people thriving, find where you can protect your peace, but still be that support.
Yeah, that's why I said I'm going to be mental health first aid, because I don't know that middle ground. I really don't. Like, I don't know it, and I'm very honest about that with anybody. I don't know this. You have to find someone else to really talk about this with, because I'm good after the first round. Second round, it gets a little shaky. Third, I'm just, because I don't know what else to say after that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
1, 2, 3. I'm honest. And I tell anybody, I can't, but I'm going to get trained. That's what the little section say. Get trained. Mental health first aid is a course that teaches you how to help. I got to know how to help, because I don't know how to help. I really don't. I don't. I know how to bring about conversation, right? To bring out the help. Yes. Where can you go? You know what I'm saying? But as far as me is concerned, being the help, I wasn't in that movie.
I'm done. Elizabeth, I'm coming.
Wait.
I can't.
I was not in the help. So I don't know how to be that. So I got to learn how to be the help. because I don't know how to be though. I ain't even gonna lie to you. I don't. I'm gonna take this upon myself to really. I say that I am because I'm very passionate about. I'm passionate about mental health because of my own struggles.
Mm-hmm.
And Gail always gets on me and tells me I need a therapist, and I'm like, whatever, Gail. I'm just gonna call you, and you can just test all your theories out on me. It's perfectly fine. We can do this. It'll work, right? Tay, we ain't asked you, licensed psychologist and all this stuff. Perfectly fine. I'm well. So, and she'd be like, no, Kia, you really should go find you a therapist. I'm like, all right. I've been saying all right for 2 years. One of these years it might work. But anyway.
One of these years, oh child.
It might work one of these years. It really might work.
We decree and declare that 2023 is going to be your year.
Tay said it. I can't decree and declare that because I can't down.
I'll do it on your behalf. But I'm biased. I think that everybody can benefit from therapy in some.
They probably can. I probably could. I might not have as many anxiety attacks as I have. Shoot, I was so mad. And nowadays when I feel it, I be sitting there like, so you just gonna do this right now? And I got things to do. Oh, okay, no problem. I guess we just gonna let this slide. We gonna let this whole anxiety just go. No problem. I'm gonna sit here, I'm gonna breathe through it or whatever I gotta do to get through it. And 9 times out of 10, it's like I won't know exactly what I did or what I thought or whatever it was. I'll literally have to put something on to like literally shake my mental to get it to like stop reacting to whatever it's reacting to that I don't know.
Yeah.
Because I literally don't know. Like there are certain instances, like for example, when people start asking me, do I really want kids? That automatically gives me an anxiety, like automatically. Because I can't stand being asked that question because my first reaction, my first response is, who the hell wouldn't want a legacy here on this earth? I don't care who you are. Now that we know that there are some people that absolutely would never want children. I'm not that person. Mm-hmm. So stop asking me, so you ain't want no kids? Shut up. Ask the question in a different way so that you won't cause me to have freaking anxiety and then go through a bout of freaking depression because now I got to deal with the fact that I could have had a child and didn't. You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like these are the things that people don't realize with how you say things, which can then trigger a person into literally having an entire panic attack. And
that's something you learn in mental health first aid. What to say and what not to say when someone discloses that they're having suicidal thoughts, or what to say and what not to say when someone is actively having a panic attack. Because
I'm like, some of y'all just get disrespectful. Or why you ain't married? Or you ain't a good wife? Why you ain't married? Well, why you ain't got no kids? You
the gall.
Your stuff don't work. I never forget somebody literally, I promise you somebody said to me, I promise you, they said, well, what, something wrong with you? That's why you ain't got no kids? Something wrong with you? And your
that
mouth?
right there can be a trigger.
Trigger? I probably got depressed after that. You know what I'm saying? Real talk. I'm making light of it now because I got over it, but I probably did. Because I'm like, that, sir, ma'am. And I think that a lot of the times what we fail to understand is my trigger is not your responsibility.
This is true.
Right? My trigger, how I emotionally or mentally, spiritually, however I attach to what you did, said, or whatever, is my response. But it's my responsibility once I recognize the trigger. But when I communicate the fact that, please don't ask me that, please don't say that, because what it does to me is something different, then it becomes your responsibility to know how the hell to speak to me and how to address me.
Right. Yeah.
My trigger. I know my triggers. Ask me about kids. See, because me talking about these damn kids here got my little heart racing and stuff, right? Talking about children to me is automatically a trigger. When you refer it directly to me and why I don't have any, that is a trigger for me, right? how I deal with it, how I internalize it, truth be told, for a very long time was highly depressive. Why? Because it was never something that I did not want. It was something that just did not happen. And then when it finally did happen, I miscarried it. Right? So I think people have to begin to understand that at the end of the day, sometimes the things that we say literally hurt. And we're not cognizant of our words, because your word, it hurt me because it triggered something inside of me where I feel a void. Trigger. Mm-hmm. You're not responsible for triggering me, but what you're responsible for.
Once you're aware, once
you're now
once you make them aware, then it is their responsibility.
Yeah,
because that's like poking the bear. You know that once you poke the bear, they're going to react negatively. But I think the first step in that is the person recognizing what their triggers are. Tia said, can we discuss what triggers are? Or discuss triggers, please. You have to first recognize what your triggers are. And some of us are having these visceral reactions to situations in our environments, and we don't understand why we're reacting. We don't realize that, hey, it's a trigger to the trauma experience. We don't recognize it as a trigger sometimes because we don't accept that what we experienced was in fact traumatic.
Right.
Because we've told people have been telling us, oh, well, your mama went through it. And Big Mama went through it. So it's normal for you to go through it.
Baby, this is normal.
Or, oh, you brought it on yourself. So we're blaming ourselves. We're victim blaming. We're re-traumatizing but we don't even acknowledge that we were traumatized. So we don't know what the trigger is, because it's like, well, what is it a trigger from?
But I had to read up on triggers to understand my triggers. Once I got diagnosed with PTSD, and how I got diagnosed with PTSD is because I attempted suicide. And once I divulged the information and they asked me what happened, it's a simple question. What happened? And the woman said, this isn't good. You're triggered. And people wonder why I have issues with people that are unstable, people that don't understand commitment, people that don't understand consistency. All of that crap is a trigger for me because of what happened.
Right. It's because of what happened.
It is the trauma response to what happened. So you can't tell me, oh, well, I ain't that person, when you're displaying signs of the person. You're inconsistent. You don't know how to communicate. You don't know how to show emotion. You damn near act narcissistic. All that shit it's a trigger. So how do I deal with it? I avoid you. Anybody that triggers me, I avoid you. If you become a trigger to me, I avoid you. Why? Because I never want to get to that place of suicide. I know where that takes me. Because if I constantly stay in that, I already know the edge is coming and I'm not trying to go over it.
Right.
So now I got to retreat. And then I have to deal with you according to how it's going to be healthy for me, not you. Because at that point, it's about me. Now I get selfish. But I had to learn how to do that because it wasn't easy. That stuff is 5-6 years in the making. Because I had to learn how to do that.
Yep.
And I'm not that great at it even now to this day.
Thomas Victor Boot, notorious arms dealer, his heyday in the 90s.
You know?
Known as the Merchant of Death. And this was a person that U.S. law enforcement had wanted to serve every bit of his sentence. But clearly, the freedom of Brittany Griner became the priority. Law enforcement knew it. They went along with this.
Tia mentioned, may I ask the different types of triggers? It depends on what the experience is.
The world, including to Africa, where thousands of people were killed, supposedly with his weapons.
Can you still hear me? Okay. So it depends on what the experience is. and what's going on in your environment. So let's say I'll use a physiological comparison. So let's say the smell of eggs makes you nauseous. The eggs are the trigger for the nausea. So if you liken that to mental health, emotional health, if you find that, let's say, whenever you're in a subway, you get tense, your shoulders get tense, you start to sweat, maybe have palpitations, maybe for a while you don't understand why that's happening all of a sudden. But then when you do some digging, you realize that you witnessed a mugging in the subway. It didn't happen to you, but you witnessed it. That might be why you have that physiological response to being on the subway, because the subway, being on the subway, is the trigger. So essentially, a trigger is something that happens that causes a certain response. That's really all it is. In pop culture and all of that, it typically has a negative connotation. A trigger, if you think of a gun, a trigger releases a bullet. So if you have something that triggers you, it's going to release certain emotions, certain chemicals, and certain bodily reactions. Everyone's triggers are different, and triggers can seem innocuous. Like, how is seeing palm trees triggering to you? Like, that's relaxing to some people. You don't know what a person's experience is. Maybe they got into a car accident when they were in, I don't know, Miami. There's palm trees in Miami, right? So that might be a trigger. Just like when we go through grief and loss, you can have something that triggers a memory of a loved one, or the loss of your job or whatever. You might see something, and also you have those random triggers that might come out of nowhere and you don't realize that they're triggers until they happen. But again, the conversation is going back to being self-aware. You have to be in touch enough with your body and your mental status to realize, hey, I'm not feeling right, or something is going on to cause me to feel anxious. I don't typically feel anxious. What's going on? You have to assess yourself. You have to assess your environment. And that's how you can begin to identify your triggers.
And like you said, the key is identification.
Yep.
Because sometimes that's the hardest thing you can ever do. It is literally attempt to identify what the heck is causing the reaction.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Because sometimes you really don't know. Because I know for myself, I really didn't know. I didn't understand half this stuff until I really started taking a deeper look into me. Mm-hmm. And saying, what is this? What the heck is PTSD with signs of depression and anxiety? What does this mean for me? Why did I get to this point?
Right.
And now, since I was there, how do I avoid that point? You know what I'm saying? And that is like I said, that literally is a constant. That is a daily thing, right? It's just something that I literally go through on a daily basis. How do I avoid this point?
Yeah.
But everybody doesn't do that, and everybody isn't capable of doing that. Right? Because at the end of the day, everyone's brain is different, and we all internalize what happens to us differently.
Right.
So we all have a different reaction too. So we can't apply something that is cookie cutter and say that this should be one size fits all for everybody, because it's not. At the end of the day, how one person processes through their trauma is not how the next person is going to process through their trauma. We all go through our moments, and at the end of the day, how we choose to end it
rests on us.
It's on us. And that's why I said, like, I've been watching Twitch since he was on So You Think You Can Dance, when he first entered So You Think You Can Dance. And I never forget, there's certain, I used to watch So You Think You Can Dance, number one, because I used to always think I was a dancer. I'm not, but I used to think that. And in my mind, like I could do all things that they were doing, and I absolutely could not. But Twitch was just so great at his movements, and he'd just be like popping and locking, and you'd be like, oh, I can do that. Right? Absolutely not. Cannot. But that's how he made you feel by watching him on TV, which is why he was such the light that everyone keeps talking about. Even then, as he transitioned and he became an all-star, So You Think You Can Dance, and he became like an instructor on there where he was teaching, you know, so he was doing the choreography for the different for the different people or whatever, especially within hip hop. And then when, you know, Ellen got rid of that one DJ guy or whatever, and then here comes Twitch, and I'm like, DJ. Find out Twitch now, DJ and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Little fake DJ, because the Lord knows there was no real music behind there. But let me find out. You know what I'm saying? He over here in the DJ booth on Ellen DeGeneres, getting the crowd pumped up and stuff. You know, because we could do that. Pop, 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 pop. You know what I'm saying? But I used to watch Ellen every darn day just to see him dance, not to see Ellen dance. I was a little tired of her dance, and I was happy she got him to dance because I didn't want to see her dance no more. You know. And I'm just being honest. And I remember when we were in, that's why I'm like, I followed Twitch and his wife. I remember during the pandemic when they were all virtual and everything, and they couldn't meet inside the studio. And, you know, they weren't really filming or anything like that, especially at the heart of it. And him and his wife would literally just go live on Instagram, and they would be dancing with the kids. And I'm like, this is the light.
Right.
How does this light dim? And what did we not see? Or what didn't he allow us to see? Because
that is the key point.
Yeah. It's not that we missed anything. It's the fact that he didn't allow us into it because he was focused on being the light. If I can light up this world with dance, get the world moving, everybody's stuck at home. But guess what? He made me feel like I could do what he was doing. And Lord knows I can't pop lock. V gets on me all the time when she be trying to be like, come on, let's do it away. And I'll be like, oh, okay. And she like, no, that's not how you do it. I'm like, fine, don't bend my fake wave. I don't care what you're saying. But he's the one that gave us that made us feel I could do this.
Right. Yeah.
And now that light is not here. Because that light has something else going on.
Yes.
That he didn't want us to see. He didn't. You think his wife ain't check on him? Some of y'all out there judging his wife, and you need to stop. Before you judge someone based on their reaction, based on whatever the case may be, you have no idea what this woman endured for years. You don't know. 9 years they were married. You don't know. It's sometimes one of the best things you can do is offer an RIP and the greatest memory and keep it moving. But true. When your RIP is caveated with, and I don't understand why she did, your RIP already don't exist because he can't rest in peace because you're attacking his wife. He loved her.
You don't know. And, you know, sometimes people will say like it's selfish or you know, you're going to hell and, you know, things like that. If a person has decided that they're going to do it, honestly, those comments are probably going to push them closer to doing it. So they've made up in their minds. So we can do as much intervention as we can. But once a person has, like you said, gone over the edge, it's a challenge to bring them back, especially if they've made a decision, but they still have the mask on.
Yep.
And some people are really good at acting. My mom, when I was having the conversation with my mom, that's what she said. Some people are really good at acting.
Hell yeah.
So
until the mask comes off. And sometimes it doesn't come off until the very end. You don't know.
Right. So we can't blame ourselves. We can't blame other people who are in the person's life. Like, no, this honestly isn't the time for that. It's not, because where's blame going to get us? That's not going to make
Nowhere.
them feel better. That's not going to bring them back.
And I think that, for me, I'm like, that's the key. I'm like, what are we doing? You know what I'm saying? Like, what are we really doing here? You know, how are we the light? And we're constantly blaming other people for something that we don't understand.
Right.
Offer your condolences, offer your RIP, and shut up. That's how I feel. You know, because at the end of the day, the family already has to deal with so much as it is.
Right.
Because, you know, nowadays there's so many different clauses to life insurance policies when it comes to suicide and also the extra stuff, whether it's covered, whether it's not covered, this, that, and the third. There's so much you don't know. Right. So you don't know what the family is now going to have to battle with. Mm-hmm. So sometimes your best bet is to just say, I'm sorry for your loss, and keep it moving.
And be a support.
Be mental health, firstaid.org if you don't know how to be a support. Because I know how to give you a hug. Now, when it comes to the everyday conversation, I don't know how to do it. But I can give you a good hug. I sure can. Mm-hmm. I'm good at that. That's that. Mm-hmm. And I'll offer you some wine. I sure will. I was straight up. You want to go to the bar? What you want to do? You want to go ahead and have a drink? That gonna make you feel. You want to get around. And I say that not to get a person drunk, but I say that so that they can be around other people and be in a cheerful environment, right? Like bars ain't depressing as much as people like to act like. No, sometimes you need to get around a cheerful environment, get around people that can, like, you know what I'm saying, jolt, do that to you. You know what I'm saying? So so no. Well, any closing thoughts, Dr. Tay? Because I'm done.
I just encourage you and everyone who's tuned in to continue the conversation, continue to hold space for each other, because it's clearly a major loss in our community and just the community at large. So continue to hold space for everyone, and provide support, and find what your support looks like. Because the support that I provide as a clinician is going to be different from the type of support that you provide as a podcast host, which is going to be different from someone who's mental health first aid trained, which you're going to be probably by like the end of the month or something. But
I got to get the
everybody's contribution is going to be different. So I encourage everyone to kind of self-reflect and see where you fit in this I don't want to say fight against mental illness, but see where you fit in this movement.
It is a movement.
Improve mental health for all people, not just Black men, not just Black women, for everyone. Everyone has their struggles. So just be open to support.
Well, I appreciate you, ma'am, for just popping up on here. Okay.
No problem. I saw it. I was like, let me tune in. Let me support.
You know, I always tell people I have a very deep respect for true mental health professionals. And I know I put true in front of there, which is a bit condescending, but I mean that in the utmost respect, with the utmost respect, because sometimes I find that everyone in the field doesn't operate in their truest form of awareness, and you do at all times.
Thank you.
And I'll be watching. I watch the good people of God. I do. And and I appreciate all that you do.
Thank you.
For the people, with what you share, with your commentary, and with your consistent support. Because we need that, you know what I'm saying? So anytime I talk about anything as it pertains to mental health, you already know you got a grandstand open invitation. Dr. Tay, come on in the room on the Muzzle Is Off podcast and help us to peel back so that we can move forward. That's what I like. Peel back so we can move forward.
I like that.
You know what I'm saying? And let me know any other websites you want to give me. Just give it to me, and I will post them at all times. Any groups you want me to post, I will post the group so that everybody, Black men, Black women, us in general.
Therapyforblackgirls.com.
Therapyforblackgirls.com. Look at that. Therapy for Black. I like how that sounds. That's a good one too. Therapy.
I think there were a couple that I mentioned earlier. Let me just confirm because I couldn't remember the
It's .com. Therapy for
I
Black.
believe
One of these days I'm gonna learn how to work this darn laptop and not. I'm just like scrolling back and forth all over the place.
Yes, it's therapyforblackgirls.com. And there's also therapy for I think it's Latinx. Yes, therapyforlatinx.com. And, you know, why do we have these different links for specific groups of people? Because feeling related to is important. Mm-hmm. Feeling seen is important. And we know that just because we have the same skin tone, it doesn't mean that you're going to understand my experience. But it might be more likely that you do. So sometimes that's the key that unlocks the door to services, because a person sees that, hey, you look like me. And all of those sites have directories. Like once you search, a person's picture is there. So you know that you're going to get someone who, you know, at the very least identifies similar to you. And then there is Psychology Today, which is pretty popular. If you go on the psychologytoday.com website, there's a Find a Therapist tab, and you can use different qualifiers like your insurance, your location, what your presenting problem is. These are all resources where you can look at directories for therapists. If you need help, if you need support, it doesn't mean that you're crazy, you're broken, you're battered. It means that you need additional support at this point in your life. That's really all it means. You're actually a stronger person for reaching out for help. So all of those websites you can visit to check, search for providers. And there's also Hello Alma, HelloAlma.com. That's another directory. It's not as extensive as Psychology Today, but there are providers on there who accept insurance.
Awesome. Thank you, Dr. Tay. I'm very much so appreciative of you for just stopping through and blessing us with your expertise on all of these sites. So I really appreciate that. I know you got to go. So thank you for just coming on and providing all that you have provided. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, sis. I appreciate
you are welcome anytime.
I appreciate all you do as well. Thank you for creating a space for free flowing conversation.
Yeah, I try to do what's best, right? That's why the muzzle had to come off so that we can just flow when it's time to flow. You know what I'm saying? And if there's one thing I say I want the Muzzle Is Off podcast to do is to literally take people on a journey from one place to the next. I don't ever want anyone to listen to the podcast and not be in a position to move forward. Yeah, I joke a whole lot. Y'all know that. That is just my way. But at the same time of it being my way, it's not a hindrance to what I'm actually trying to do.
Right.
It's all a tool. It's all an aid. And the reason being is because I find that sometimes when we take things a little too seriously, like we don't allow space for smiles, it can keep us stuck in our head. So we got to like wiggle it out so that we become unstuck here, and I try to do that for everybody. So thank you again, Dr. Tay. Love you.
For having
Appreciate
me.
you.
Love you too.
Have a great evening.
You too. Good night, everyone. Thanks for having me. Thank you for sticking around.
Yes, thank you, everybody. So we are about to sign off from here. I want to thank all of y'all for watching. I want to thank all of y'all for listening. I want to thank all of y'all for doing all the things that y'all do. And what I also want to say is that if you ever feel that you are in need or you are in crisis, do reach out to me via my inbox, okay? And if I don't know exactly where to send you, I will go to Dr. Tay and I will find out exactly where to send you, because I don't ever want anyone to ever feel as if they don't have a way of escape for whatever is going on in your mind. And that way doesn't necessarily have to be by dying by suicide. It can just be by pointing you in a different direction to get another level or an extensive level of help. Whatever it is that we can do, we're definitely are willing and able to do whatever it is. So with that, I hope you all have truly enjoyed the commentary on tonight. I hope that you are able to take some of it with you, if not all. And until next time, we are out. Have a good night. And everyone, please be safe. Good night.